This is Luke Kinetic, and you're in the arena with leaders and citizens who take character based action. In the Arena is a proud member of the Democracy Group Podcast Network. For more information, visit democracygroup.org. Well, it's a pleasure to be in the arena with Ximena Lainfiesta. She's from Guatemala. We're speaking to her in San Francisco at the moment, and she spent a lot of time outside Los Angeles and Compton the past year. She's one of our next generation leaders, and thank you very much for coming on to do the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
You have varied background and passionate as a leader. You have a background in journalism, and you have a real passion for taking on tough challenges. Vulnerable populations, I guess, whether it be with the women, children. Do I have that right?
You have it completely right. Yes. I have a background in journalism, but working, but actually studying. I'm a communications um, major and mostly communications for development, audiovisual productions. And then I studied neuroscience and cultural and creative industry. So it's a multidisciplinary background.
So, how did it work out for you to come and be part of the McCain Institute? You don't have to give a whole lot to that, but then how did you end up going to Compton and work in the mayor's office there? And then what's that like? I don't think I've ever been to Compton. It's the kind of place you see in movies and things like that. So how does that all connect?
So I was studying in Taiwan. I got my master's degree in cultural and creative industries. And while I was in Taiwan, I was doing a research on my thesis about violence against women and children, and realizing a historical and systematic oppression, not only from the state, but from every group in society that is engaged in child abuse and woman abuse. It really turned, it's still, I became a journalist because of the causes, but it turned me around in a way that I just didn't thought becoming someone in the academia could change it. And I was struggling to see how could I go beyond, because working as a journalist, it's rewarding in a way, but you don't really change things, right? People don't actually care, and you need people to care and act and do things. And it didn't matter how much hours I put into the work, people still didn't care. And so I received an email, and someone sent me the email. It said like, oh, it looks like about you, it looks like your profile. And I was completely honest, like, I don't know how, but I want to change this.
So I mean, it makes it, journalism is powerful, and I think we recognize that. But you're saying you can't really lead from a position of journalism for the most part, and you wanted to lead, and it sounds like you made a pretty compelling case. And then we say, okay, come spend some time with us, and then we'll talk to you about what it means to be a character-driven leader, and we're going to go send you to Compton. So I think of Compton as a rough place. I'm probably behind the times.
Probably you are. I mean, Compton is a fascinating city. What people don't get about Compton is that historically, people have this idea of things and they have stereotypes, and the city has suffered from these stereotypes. That the people have been suffering because of how people think they are, and people decide who they are allowed to be and do. And so it's been the most amazing opportunity to be able to be in a community. When my family found out I was going to Compton, they all were like, please, can you reject the scholarship, please? um, and first of all, I was living in LA. Compton is safer than LA downtown. It's just that people have ideas of what you're supposed to be. And the mayor has been running for 2 terms, and she's been making amazing changes. I am a huge fan of her work. I've been privileged to call her my friend now, and to have her, someone with a vision that cares so much for something, it really gives you the hope that you can make your own change, and you can. And it's amazing. um, I got to Compton because I wanted to learn about public policy and how through local government you could create more change for communities. And in Compton, I noticed that what people need is opportunities, because there is just an amount of things that local government can make for you, but it still won't guarantee you a better life. And while I was in Compton, I changed my plan. So that's how I got to Mayan Bees.
Well, that connects the dots nicely. So then we were just talking before how you're looking at flights back to Guatemala. This will come out later, but the pandemic has caused changes, and that's part of why you're in San Francisco as well. So how's what you've learned in Compton? How do you see translating that to Guatemala? And I think if I hope you won't think this unfair, but Guatemala is probably a place in the same way that I have probably the wrong perhaps perceptions of Compton. I think people have, not full or proper conceptions of Guatemala. Although to be fair, I think there's a lot of poverty and indigenous population in Guatemala. It's not an easy place, but I think people still have the wrong picture, I bet.
Yes, I think that's one of the biggest changes coming here, and seeing how people perceive you as a person because of your country. And they look me, and I am white skinned, right? And they are like, well, why are you white? You're not supposed to be. And the fact that they don't understand our history of how we were conquered by Europeans, right? This is why we have so much diversity in our countries. We have so many languages, so many groups of people. Guatemala, what I think the most part that I've struggled here is people thinking that we are their backyard and we are a country to serve the other countries. They don't recognize our sovereignty, and they don't recognize that we're able to do our things if other people allow us. But international policy most of the times leave these type of countries like us that are underdeveloped in the need of the other countries, right? Our economy depends 80% on the US. Our most economic income is because of immigrants. That revenue that they take from the US and send to their family members is the growth of our economy. And so you have to understand like these political relationships that we have. But it's been healing also to see people caring about other countries. And I identify a lot in here in the US with the Latino and the African American community historically, how they have struggled. And I see it in Compton. I see how you can turn things around. And that's what I'm thinking of bringing back to Guatemala is, seeing how people organize. In the US is the perfect example of people are not okay with something and they join, they unite, and they create something out of it. And it's wonderful to see how social fabric works and how you can actually get things going when you join other people. And so I think that's the biggest lesson. But Guatemala is a multi-diverse, multi-ethnic, multi-language. We have a huge history of corruption, violence, but it wasn't like that. It's very recent. My parents still talk about the days where they could walk in the streets, and my generation didn't saw that. But I do believe that we can gain that back, that sovereignty, that freedom, and the power of working towards your future.
I think that's an important point that, sometimes folks think, oh, there's nothing ever good happened, in a place. And you're talking about getting back to a place. So a lot of countries are in that situation if they're honest. I think there was a movie called Out of Compton, so I was trying to find a way to kind of work that in there, but I won't try too hard. So we'll take kind of a quick shift here. You know a thing or two about bees, and that kind of figures into your plans, right? Not birds and the bees, bees. Okay. So talk to me about that. Now you do have a lot of interest, but how are bees going to help us?
So it all started because before I came here to the McCain Institute, I still was in touch with many people in Guatemala. And one of my best friends, he was around Guatemala. He went to an indigenous community. And he said, I discovered these weird bees. And I'm like, tell me more, because I'm a curious person. I love everything and I want to know everything about everything. And so when he started to talk about these bees, I was like, oh, they're cool. And I just kept them in the back of my head. Like, But he started to learn more. He started to know more, and he talked to my other best friend, and they started to talk about bees and bees and bees. And
There was
I'm like,
buzz. There was some buzz going on here. Yeah.
yeah. And then suddenly one of them says like, we can help people, like we can make money out of it. And then I said, no, we can help people out of it. Like we can actually benefit people from it. And so we rediscovered our own history, our own traditions, everything that is indigenous in Guatemala, by the middle and upper class, and like these Latinos people, which is someone like me, like whitewashed and more like with access to education and not speaking an indigenous language, although I do speak a bit of Kaqchikel.
Mm-hmm.
And so our group of people, we have lost everything where we come from. We look as the United States as the goal, or the Europe, but we don't see our past, and we don't feel proud of carrying all of this tradition and the biggest civilization in the world, the Mayans, right? And
Right.
having that as your background, having that strong energy of how did you become the way you are, many people are ashamed of that small DNA in their blood. And so looking at that, I realized that we don't have to look at these other countries, right? We can find ways to be our own selves if we go back. If we go back and we know our history, it's like when I saw it in the US, you have museums for the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
You have We the People on everything, and you have the flag on everything. I could make a photo book on flags of the US on everything. And it's because people know their past, they know their history, they know where they're coming from, but we don't have that. Our history got burned, destroyed, and whitewashed. And so when we relearned ourselves, we felt ashamed that we didn't knew, of all these native species and other things. Why do tomatoes only have to be one type of tomatoes, or corn? Why does it have to look the same? We have like 22 different types of corn, of different colors, of different shapes and sizes, and that diversity is something you cannot buy with money. And so we looked at these bees. These were bees that were harvested by the Mayans. They saw these bees, and they were the ones who invented the whole system of collecting and harvesting, and they trained them, and they made them so pacific and the way these bees are. So what's special about them is that they don't have poison or stings, which means you don't have to wear anything on your body.
Is that
And
right?
they are, yeah, just put stingless bees or Mayan bees, and you will see how different their hives. They're different. They don't collect their honey on cells. They make pots of wax, and they keep it to the side, not where they keep their babies, but on the side. And they're wonderful species. They are at least 22 types just in Guatemala, because they're from Mexico to below. The whole American continent has their own native bees. Honeybees, as we know them, they're European. They do not belong into our continent. They are like a plague, if you can say, because of their massive honey production. They have been abused and exploited. But they are not of our territory. And so they feed themselves only with European flowers. And our bees, they pollinate our crops, our plants, because they developed with them for thousands of years. And they are the tiniest bees you've ever seen, or bigger size. Each type is different. Some of these bees, they smell like lemon. And some others, they are golden. Some others are black. They don't look like traditional bees. And that's the wonderful thing of seeing that each of their honey, the same way these bees are different, their honey is different. It's more liquid. It has less sugar. It is a completely different type of honey because they pollinate different flowers.
So it's not, I mean, gosh, I'm sold. I'm ready. I'm ready to have some of this honey, and I'm ready to see some of these bees. But so you're going to tie this to economic opportunity then, and
Yes.
kind of this reclaiming. I spent some time in Afghanistan. It was a little bit the same. Their ability to work with wood and so many things that were kind of lost and over generations that we were trying to, they were trying to help reclaim. But that journey to self-reliance, that sounds pretty exciting. Now, are you looking to kind of tie these two things together? Because to me, let's face it, if child labor and if children and then if women are being threatened and communities and the culture isn't doing all that they can to be able to hold women up, that's going to be a problem. It's a problem a lot of places, but it sounds like, do you see these things kind of connecting?
Definitely, because first, these bees don't have stings, right, or poison, so they can be easily manipulated by anyone. You don't need to invest a lot to have one. They are naturally in the environment, and although they are an species in they are an endangered species. They can be saved by us, and so they don't need hard work like Apis mellifera, the European bee, needs. You just keep them, so you can have a normal job and you can have this as an extra passive income, which means that you gain money out of not doing much but taking care of these bees. And if you're a children or a woman that most likely you're not able to get these opportunities, it is your main income, right?
Mm.
It becomes an income because you're able to keep them in your backyard, and you're able to have this on the side, and you have a couple of hours a day where you pick at them and you see that everything is all right, and then you can sell it at a higher price in a good market, and you get that revenue. And so what we want to become is like the Uber of the honey, because it's decentralized economy. We don't have honey, we don't have the farms, right? We don't own any bees. People own bees in their backyard, in their garden, and we are just able to provide that network so that they can sell it in a formal market in a way that they wouldn't be able to do it traditionally because they're disconnected. And so we're just the bridge. They are doing everything. We're just connecting them so that they can get the opportunity. And we're creating at the end a network, but it's a family. When you're part of something like this, you care about the people. If someone is going through something, you're there for them. So it's also creating a new type of community, a new type of way of seeing how our country could work. And I call this the hive, imitating the organization of the bees. How
Mm.
would we work if we were bees, right? We would work towards a cause, towards the cause of the hive. We would change our jobs depending on what's needed. We would all benefited from the honey that we produce, and we were all taking care of each other. These bees, they even remove the dead bees. They take them and they put them to the side, and it's so precious how this insect can have strong emotions and care for each other. So we're seeing them as our guidance. The
Right.
Mayans saw them as gods, but we can see them also as the way to aspire to create this new type of experience of having you with your brothers, with your sisters, and creating this new environment where everyone is benefiting, and not just someone, just everyone is working, and everyone is valued for their work, and they have something to put in.
So again, I remain sold, and I can see that your communications skills and marketing, and I'm sure there's a lot of technology that's got a tie to this as well. Where does character-driven leadership enter into it? How is that going to help you? How will that help in your approach?
It helps in every way, because first, you have to be a character driven leader to even dare to dream that a very country is possible, to dare that there is going to be a moment where the indigenous people and the most vulnerable people in our society are valued and taken care of. For me, everyone is valued and worth it, because we're all part of the same holistic way of living. And if someone is affected by something, I get affected too. And so being a leader, a character driven leader, is about taking action and responsibility for the future that we want to create. Is daring to dream, but is daring to act, is to speak our mind and talk about the problems, because racism is real and you have to talk about it in a very racist country. So you have to be able to to say that these people deserve opportunity, and people have to understand that they are valuable because they are seen as things that you can exploit. So leadership is commitment to society and humanity, and committed to finding a solution and being part of it. So my leadership helps me, because what if people don't buy the honey? Will I give up? No, there are other things, and there are other ways that you can create an economic impact into families, and I will search for each and every one of them. And my background in cultural industries helped me a lot, because artisans and cultural industries are the future. And so it's about being resilient and being able to adapt to change together. And leaders, character driven leaders, are willing to start wherever they are, using what they have and doing what they can. So I'm a leader because I'm taking an action. I am looking for the people. I'm training others. I'm trying to gather people around a common cause. And it's definitely help me seeing myself as a leader, also feeling enough. I have 27 years, and from these 27 years I've been working since I am 15 years old. um, and I never felt good enough. And even though I worked as a journalist, as a high research journalist, and I worked in many different projects and I have so much experience, I never felt enough that I could make a change in my country. And just 9 months in, I feel like, yes, I can make a change now. And I am resolute, and I know it's going to be hard, but I'm making it happen. The first time I told the team about the bees, they were like, how is this going to work? And now everyone is like, I believe in this project. Yes, because I took it from zero to something. I have the honey. I send honey to people to try it out here. And they were like, oh, so there's actually this honey. You're not talking about suppositions. I'm doing it. I'm I'm taking people in. I open the social media accounts. I make videos. I talk with alliances and partnerships, and I already have a list of buyers. And so it's the small things. If I manage that one person buys me the honey, one person, that is already good. And that person will tell someone else. And it's just about leadership. It's just about being able to commit yourself.
Well, my sense, you inspire me. My sense is that you inspire others, and that is leadership. You kind of had me when you said, "Look, your friend said, hey, these bees could make money," and you said, "Hey, these bees could help people," right? So that seemed at the essence there. Now, I said probably I would hit you up to talk about something interesting in the U.S. and something interesting in Guatemala. And you've done that in spades already, and you can do that more if you like. But I thought I might ask you, what would you like to see, or what would you like to see in terms of progress, or how the U.S. Guatemala relationship could advance, or should advance, or should be, if you're comfortable answering that question?
Oh, of course. I see it like as a recognition of equals, right? I see both of our economies collaborating. A big example, all the avocados all of you eat, these are Guatemalan avocados that someone from California came, took from Guatemala, and trademarked them in the US. And now they're called Avocado Hass, because that was his last name. And he took something that was from our land and made money from it. But what happens if we make money out of it? If we make money from our own things, and that equality of, I can produce for you, of course, if you want to buy my products. And I see it in California people, they are the ones who inspired me, because I went to Whole Foods and I see how expensive just normal Apis honey is, and I'm like, our honey is worth more than that, and people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about, what if everyone is good with money, what if everyone has a chance to produce and being recognized historically, being recognized as a country even. So I one big example of that is while I was in Whole Foods with the guy who was like picking up my things. He's like, "You have a funny accent. Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Guatemala." He's like, "Oh wow, I'm so sorry for what we did to you in the time of one historical thing." I was shocked that he knew, and I was something healed inside of me of knowing that he recognized that interchange. Right? We have all damaged each other, um, and but the fact that people are able to recognize us as equals and giving us the opportunity of becoming our best self, that is how I envision it. I see United States as a partner. I don't see it as my owner. I see them as a way that we can evolve, but I don't want to become United States. United States is United States, but I want to be Guatemala. And I'm proud of being Guatemalan, even though it means I come from a third world country with poverty, with violence, where human rights are constantly being violated. But we have the same goals and we all want everyone to be okay. And I would just love that recognition of equality, as a woman, as a Guatemalan woman, as a person, that my history exists, that my country exists, that I'm not Mexico, right? I'm not, oh, Mexican, right? It's like you could go there and you could fall in love with people, and you could bring people in and they would fall in love with you too. And it's just that diversity, right? Lovers of diversity, of what's different. We don't have to be cut by the same cookie cutter like thing, right? We can be good, great, and diverse, and it doesn't mean things won't work or be productive or effective.
I love that answer, and I've really enjoyed our conversation. Ximena, you know, all the best. We're going to stay in touch. I'm going to be looking for your honey and shelves if I can help you get it on the shelves. Let me know, because of understanding what all's behind that. I tell you, it's really really impressive. So thank you again for taking the time, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you so much. Me too. I enjoyed this time, and thank you for making me think about these questions and rethink about my purpose.
This podcast is produced by Patrick McCann and Justin Kessler. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, tell your friends, or leave a review.